Chris, what is our fifth main topic today?
This one is from Alan Reddock. Hey everyone, it's finally Bat Week!
Woo! Batman Eve, everybody! Happy Batman Eve!
And I know everyone is excited for the film. However, reviews are coming out today, so I need to know what percentage do you think the film will have by opening day? And for a little bonus, what is everybody's box office prediction for the film?
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in. We've talked about box office predictions at this ad nauseum. So, I did. And today was the day. Now, last week we talked about the first reactions that came out of the London premiere of The Batman, and they were glowing. There were words like spectacular, euphoric, this is going to become your new favorite Batman, like all those sorts of things. But what we have seen is normally when the first reactions come out, 85 to 90% of the time they stay in line with what the reviews, but we have seen examples before where first reactions came across as pretty positive and then the reviews came out and they got tempered a bit. Well, today was the day that the Batman actually has its first reviews coming out. And as of this moment, it is holding a 94% as of this moment on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's go and look. Now, I pulled up the first two reviews. All right. One of the first reviews I pulled up was CNET. I actually like Richard over at CNET. I like his reviews quite a bit, actually. He wrote the following in his opening. You've seen a million Batman movies, but you still need to steel yourself for the darkest Dark Knight yet.
Yes.
Starring Robert Pattinson as DC's Caped Crusader, The Batman is an intense and apocalyptic cinematic experience. I want to read this again. You have to steel yourself for the darkest Dark Knight yet, starring Robert Pattinson as DC's Caped Crusader. The Batman is an intense and apocalyptic cinematic experience.
Bruh.
Now we go over to Peter over at Variety. And Peter, they slapped the Critics' Pick label on this film. And Peter wrote the following. Where do you go after The Dark Knight? Ben Affleck blew it. I wholeheartedly disagree with him about that.
Too.
I do not believe Ben Affleck crushed it anyway. But where do you go after The Dark Knight? Ben Affleck blew it. And even Christopher Nolan, who brought unprecedented levels of realism and gravitas to the franchise best Batman saga, couldn't improve on what he created in his 2012 sequel. So what is Cloverfield director Matt Reeves' strategy? Answer, go darker than The Dark Knight, deadlier than No Time to Die, and longer than Dune, with a serious-minded Batman standalone of his own. Leaning into those elements doesn't automatically mean audiences will embrace Reeves' vision, but this grounded, frequently brutal, and nearly 3-hour film noir registers among the best of the genre, even if, or more aptly, because what makes the film so great is its willingness to dismantle and interrogate the very concept of superheroes. And that's just the opening quip from Peter over at Variety. And overall, the reviews we've been reading are fantastic. Actually, Rob, you were reading our friend Greg Alba put out, who's been on the show a number of times. He put out his review. What was some of the things Greg was saying of it too?
So, it was funny. When the embargo dropped, I was driving here. And I just went on, when I was driving, I wasn't looking, but I was on my phone. My phone's connected through Bluetooth through the car. So the first thing that came up was the Real Rejects right out of the theater review. And I really like Greg Alba. I like the Real Rejects.
Yeah, him and John are great.
They're great. Him and John were great, and it was the two of them. And I just hit the review, playing it in my car, so I'm listening to their voices. They sound great. And Greg Alba said, I'm paraphrasing here, so if I get this wrong, Greg, I apologize. But he basically said, imagine if this new Batman movie were produced in the 70s by Francis Ford Coppola, and it was a remake of Polanski's Chinatown, as directed by David Fincher and written by somebody who listened to a lot of Nirvana. And I was like, dude, that was the best description I could possibly be given by somebody who I appreciate his taste. We're usually aligned. That's all I needed to hear. And I'm like, my God, if you read these reviews, we know we're getting an epic film. This is an actual look at the corruption in a city. There's multi-layers to it. We're seeing it from many different perspectives. And what I was hearing, and now that I've read a lot of reviews, I think it's incredible. Now, unfortunately, there's still a lot of fan pushback on this movie. I'm seeing a lot of people like, this movie's incredible, the reviews, and then somebody will show like all the reviews for lesser comic book movies like Wonder Woman 84, where reviewers said the same thing. I would say, no. Every movie's different. And Matt Reeves is a different kind of a filmmaker. And when you start reading the reviews, read between the lines as to what people are actually saying about what's going on in this film. And for me, the comparisons to Fincher and Seven and Zodiac and Chinatown, that's all I need to hear. John, I think we got something special. It's not going to be the pulp comic book Batman that you've always wanted, but it's been the Batman that I've always wanted to see.
All right, let's go over for a second, take a look at what some other folks are saying over here. Like right now, sitting at a 96 at the moment. That's going to fluctuate as all the reviews start to flood in more. We're going to see that 96 go up and down.
Is there any splat reviews from a big critic?
Well, I got one here from Moira McDonald from the Seattle Times.
My hometown?
Yep, who writes, depressing, dark, and endless. I don't know about you, but this particular time in history does not seem like the moment for a movie that will leave you A, miserable, and B, wondering why nobody in Gotham seems to have heard of light bulbs.
There you go.
I am going to write a negative review. That's great to me.
But is that really negative?
Well, she does give it a splat. But it's funny because you notice that the thing she's focusing on, to somebody else, those are strengths.
Yeah, that's like
But to her,
what
it's
a
a
noir
negative.
film is. That's like
Right.
the definition of a noir movie, which is
But
what
again,
this is.
it's a great example about how, as art, we can all stand in front of the same piece of art and get a different experience from it. She's pointing out some things that a lot of other critics are saying are strengths, but to her, it's a negative.
But to me, it's what she doesn't like. I would like to read a review of somebody looking at this material and actually delving into what's actually there. You know, when
Right, but everybody's quotes is going to be what they did like and what they did. Like even the Variety quote I just read was just, well, in their opinion, they liked this and it did this and it did this. But this is interesting. So there's another negative one from a top critic from the San Francisco Chronicle who wrote the following. He wrote, from start to finish, the Batman is mostly just a collection of bad ideas.
wow.
Oof.
Now, granted, these are all reviews that are in the vast minority. At this moment, they say they've got 71 reviews. 3 of them are listed as rotten. So that's what we've got there. But then we get things like the Independent in the UK. The Batman is a very good Batman film. To think of it as anything more only leads to delusion or disappointment. So you get some middle of the road stuff, and then you get the really highfalutin stuff that a lot of people are liking. But right now it's sitting at about a 96. Again, the Variety and the Hollywood Reporter and CNET reviews and Greg Alba's reviews are great to me. Also, I talked to a buddy of mine who saw it 2 nights ago, who said straight up, now granted, me and this buddy of mine don't have the most similar opinion of movies, but he thinks the Batman is the new gold standard of what the comic book genre can be. Like what Logan kind of showed us comic book movies could be. What The Dark Knight showed us what comic book movies could be. He says the Batman is now that standard bearer. And so that's just from, I've only talked to 2 people I know personally who have seen the movie, but that's generally the response I'm getting, is absolutely unbelievably fantastic. And you know, I'm reading a number of people too just say, yeah, this isn't The Dark Knight, but it's really good. And like, you know, my opinion going into this movie was, I don't need this movie to be the next Dark Knight.
No, I don't either.
I don't need it to be as good as The Dark Knight. I don't need it to be better. The Dark Knight is a top 3 greatest comic book film of all time. I don't need this movie to be that. I just want it to be really good. That's all I need. Just be really good. And if it's more than that, gravy. But the vast, vast majority right now seem to be of the opinion that this movie is very good. Some saying even better than that, but generally speaking, at the very least, they're saying it's very good. Hey guys, we want to take a second and thank one of the sponsors of today's videos, Wondery's podcast, Badlands. Most of us have accepted that celebrities and stars live by a different set of rules, more relaxed rules. At times, they even seem to get away with murder, and some Literally do. On the Badlands podcast, listen to the real-life stories of A-listers whose crimes and career lows are as unbelievable as some of their film's plot twists. On this season, they look at Heath Ledger's spiral into darkness and his final days. They'll also cover Brittany Murphy's mysterious, unusual death and Jack Nicholson's proclivity to fits of rage. Also, did you know that America's Dad, Tim Allen, the man who played Santa Claus, he got his comedy start in a Minnesota prison? For all that and more, listen to Badlands, a true crime podcast that dives deep into the stories of the famous at their most infamous. You guys know I love stories, but I also love the stories behind the stories, and that's why you guys should listen to this. You're going to love Badlands. Get new episodes every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts, or binge all of Season 3 ad-free right now only on Amazon Music. Anyway, Chris, you're hearing, seeing the reviews, the numbers, you've been reading a bunch of them your own. What's the overall impression you're getting from the critics that are coming out across, and where does that leave you as far as where your expectations are?
I feel like the majority of critics are enjoying this film. And if you do get into the, is this the movie we need right now? If we're doing that with it's not the movie we need, but it's the movie we deserve, and treating it like it's Batman itself, I think that's not giving this movie what it should be given, right? That's
Agreed.
putting a lot of unnecessary expectations on this film. I'm excited about it. The reviews make me excited about it. I really want this to be great. I was in kickboxing yesterday, and my instructor was like, man, your crew really wants this movie to be good, huh? It's like, yeah, 6 hours of our life are going to be devoted to it this week at least. So I really hope we have a good time. And you know what? I think we will. I think this is going to be a really promising film. And I'm excited that it is gritty and dark. We've talked about that ad nauseum on this. I want that from this version of the Bat. I think it's going to be fun.
I'm going to go down through a few more here that we've had to take a look at. I'm going to start with my home country of Canada. The Globe and Mail says, I am as surprised as anyone, because the Globe and Mail is traditionally a little hard on things. I'm as surprised as anyone to say that after watching Pattinson in action, I'm calling on the industry to bring on all of its many Batmen, Batwomen, Bats, keep them coming, hot and ready until we choke on a cowl. So, I mean, that's his response to this.
Damn.
The Arizona Republic, one of the top critics, writes, the Batman is impressively made, the acting is first rate, and the chemistry between Pattinson and Kravitz is magnetic. It's meant to be an important statement. It's not a lot of, although it's not a lot of, fun. Leaning into what everybody's saying about how dark it is and all that kind of stuff. Let's see, where are we at here? Laura Potter from Starburst writes, Reeves, the Batman is an impressive exploration of the characters, year 2, and a visually stunning, violent, and believably gritty detective film to please the purists and introduce casual fans to a different version of the Bat. So the general consensus we seem to be pulling out here is, number one, this movie's dark. The consensus seems to be it's darker than The Dark Knight. And a lot of them seem to love it, that it's darker than The Dark Knight. To some people, that level of darkness doesn't fit their palate, and it doesn't seem to work for them. And that's okay, and that's fine. But it's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, me too.
It's exactly what I was kind of hoping to hear.
John, they're also saying that this is a detective thriller. This is an actual detective mystery, which is another thing that a lot of Batman fans, myself included, I want to see the Dark Knight detective. That's kind of what we're getting.
I mean, that's the coolest part. I know it's different, but the Arkham games, that's what's so cool about them, is going into detective mode and feeling like you're solving things and doing that aspect. Not just smashing stuff, which is fun too, but that he's supposed to be the world's greatest detective. I want to see that.
I've been hearing a lot of people also saying this is going to the detective aspect, that this is the 90s style serial killer thriller.
Right.
Where you've got your detective on the case trying to stop this madman and whatever. And I'm eating that up because that is, look, Ben Affleck is my favorite iteration of Batman so far. Obviously, I love the Christopher Nolan films and all that kind of stuff. But the one aspect of the Batman that we have kind of overlooked a lot in all the iterations has truly been, I mean, honestly, the Adam West Batman is the one that did the detective aspect of Batman best.
Yep.
Right.
We really haven't leaned into it all to the, as Ra's al Ghul calls him, detective. We haven't really gone into that. And the fact that they didn't just promise that this new Batman would be leaning into the detective aspect, it sounded like they actually deliver on it. And I love that. So if it can be that dark and be a serial killer detective film and have the level of visceral action that we've seen teased to us in the trailers, by the way, they're all saying that the action is top notch. If you can deliver all that, fuck! I'm so excited.
This Batman is like the way I always thought Batman should be. It should always be dark, just because like the Batman animated series compared to like all the other like Saturday morning cartoons was really, really like dark. There was
Yeah.
Comparatively,
you know what
it
I mean?
was.
So this is the way I want Batman to be, like really dark. Gotham looks like it's the scariest city from the trailers to live in. It's just and Matt Reeves, what he did with Planet of the Apes, I really like what he did there. So
Oh, he did such a good job with that.
yeah, so I'm excited for it now too, after seeing these reviews.
Okay, so right now we are at 121 reviews in. 100. That's a lot for this time of day. Considering the review embargo has only been lifted to 2 hours. I expect this is going to be well over 200, probably by like 3 or 4 o'clock today. But right now, 121 reviews. We're sitting at 91%. And this is about where I expected it to be. I expect this movie to hover around anywhere between the 87 to 94% range because of specific, we talked about this a few weeks ago, because of the heavy aspect of this film, because of the obvious darkness that is in the film. This is not going to be, nor was it designed to be, a movie that was going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
And so I expect there's going to be some critics and some people who watch it that go, when they see how much into that darkness level, the visceralness of it, all that kind of stuff, the fact that it's not a flash, bang, boom comic book movie that we've kind of come to expect from our comic book fare, I think there's going to be a lot of people that this isn't their cup of tea and isn't going to work for them. So this 91 rating is going to go up and down a bit. I expect it to come in that 80, 85, 86, 87% range to about 94, 95.
It's a good change of pace coming from No Way Home.
Yes.
From No Way Home to this.
Yes.
It's to like see something like No Way Home in a Batman, like no, it wouldn't work. So like yeah, it's a good change of pace. Like I need this, to be honest. Not the 3 hours, but I do
You need the
need
darkness in your soul to be
Yeah,
writ large on the big screen.
yeah, of course.
I'm right there with you, buddy.
And also his costume, when we were watching Batman Begins, there's this part where he's talking to the kid in the alley, right?
Yes.
And you see
King
a full
Joffrey of Game of Thrones, yeah.
You see a full-on straight shot, and that was my biggest gripe. I was like, his suit kind of looks horrible to me now, especially just the cowl part.
Right.
The cowl part, because it was just so round and eggy. Like from the minute I saw when I saw this suit, I was like, that looks very functional and looks great
Yes,
too.
it looks tactical.
Like the chiseled, credit to Robert Pattinson for staying in shape. The chiseled square jaw, he looks good. I can't wait.
Somebody I've lost it already, but somebody in the live chat said this looks like the 7 of comic book movies.
Yep.
That's what Rob's been saying.
I'm
yeah.
like, that's exactly what it kind of feels like. But is that a good thing?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes, it is. I mean, I love the idea that they talk a lot about in a lot of the reviews, the city aspect. Like they really look at Gotham as an entity from many different angles, from Falcone's angle, from Commissioner Gordon's angle, from Batman's angle, from Catwoman's angle. And we're really getting, this is a meal of a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big, big movie that has a lot to say about the current times we're living in. I mean, what's interesting is when you say this isn't the movie that we deserve or that we should have in these kind of times. And I'm like, really? Because these kind of times maybe need something like this to kick
Yeah.
us out of our complacency and be like, do better, people.
I agree. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. The reviews are now coming out for the Batman. They just jumped up to 92%. I expect this is roughly where it's going to end up. Question is for you guys. What do you think now that the reviews are out? We heard the first reactions were pretty high. The reviews also seem to be pretty high. Is that what you were looking forward to? Is this type of things we're hearing about just how gritty and dark it is? Are you surprised? Is it right where you thought it would be? Where are your expectations like for this movie right now? Today is Batman Eve. Are you going to go see those advanced screenings tomorrow night? I know we are. By the way, guys, don't forget, tomorrow night, we will be posting, the 4 of us are going to be going to see this movie tomorrow, and we will be posting our right out of the theater reaction to it. And hopefully more of us will like it than we did for Uncharted when we walked out of Uncharted. Anyway, guys, whatever you guys are thinking about this whole thing with the Batman reviews, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.